Hey everyone, it's Ethan or Miist back again for another video today, and welcome back to the channel, guys. We're here again for yet another video. Going to be talking about every movie I watched last week. No TV shows this week, surprisingly enough, although I did watch every single episode of season 1 of Clone Wars, except for the finale, because the way that the timeline order of Star Wars goes is that I have to watch most of season 2, the beginning of season 3, and then finish season 1. So I haven't actually ranked it yet, but I'll talk about that next week. Nonetheless, let's get into it, starting it off with my least favorite of the 11 movies that I watched this week, and one of the themes of the week, which is Candyman. Candyman Day of the Dead is my least favorite, which I ranked a 27 out of 100. Not a great movie. It's okay. I think it's a little weird that he's kissing his family, and yeah, it's not great. This reminds me of pretty much most of the middle to I guess middle parts of any horror franchise. They just try to cast a very attractive woman as the lead, and the rest of the movie is not good. That's kind of what this felt like, similarly to many of the other horror franchises. So yeah. Anyways, let's move on to Candyman Farewell to the Flesh, which I ranked a 43 out of 100. And I think this one is decent. Well, I think this one is okay. This one definitely has some great lore that I enjoyed, getting to explore a little bit more of Candyman and his creation and his beginnings. I thought that was fun and I enjoyed that. Ranked it a 43 out of 100. Let's move on to Mary Antoinette, which I ranked a 51 out of 100. Honestly, it's not a bad movie. It's just not my type of movie. And I wouldn't really say I loved anything in this movie apart from Jason Schwartzman. But I prefer Jason Schwartzman when he's more in a comedic role. He's definitely not in a comedic role. Well, you could probably think it's funny, I guess, but I did find it funny. And these style of movies, these old, like, 16th century, 17th century, 18th century movies, I just don't find are interesting, especially the way that people are back then. I cannot fucking begin to fathom the way that people think, and it's brutal. Nonetheless, though, this movie is a very pretty movie. It looks very good, and the set design, costume design is fantastic, and it deserves. Well, you know what? I seen it won an Oscar. I'm assuming it won an Oscar for either of those things. I don't actually know. I didn't check, but still, I would assume it's probably for that. But ranked it at 51 out of 100. Let's move on to the 2021 Candyman. And Nia DaCosta has quickly become one of my favorite female directors, I'd say. Probably, if not my favorite female director. I like 28 Years of the Bone Temple. I like The Marvels. I like some of this Candyman, and I like some of Hedda as well. So I like her filmography out of the four that I've seen so far. And this one, being a 58 out of 100, is not bad. There's a lot of really creative ideas and creative horror techniques used in this. I just don't think anything is that special about the movie. There's a lot going on in this movie. It feels like there's a little bit too much going on at times. The twist is a twist for a twist, I feel, which is never great. But yeah, ranked at a 58 out of 100. And of course, like this backdrop you can see, like that's a very cool scene. It's not scary at all. I didn't find, but it is what it is. Let's move on to the original Candyman, which I ranked a 61 out of 100. I think this is a decent movie. I didn't really know what to expect going into this. I felt on the edge of my seat for the majority of this film. It's very eerie, it's very creepy. It definitely was good at building tension, and there's so much mystery around the Candyman. And of course, rest in peace to the great Tony Todd, who's fucking fantastic. I love him as Zoom in The Flash. Big reason as to why I love Zoom so much. And yeah, I mean, his voice is just fantastic. It's peak. It's actually unreal. But overall, I enjoyed this. Thought it was a decent movie. And I think I could see myself enjoying this more on rewatch as well. So 61 out of 100. Let's move on to Hannah Montana the movie, which Mel and I just watched tonight, which I ranked a 71 out of 100. I actually raised it a couple of points. I think I previously had this a 68 out of 100. I think it's a good movie, and I think the soundtrack is very good. It's a lot of fun. It's one of Mel's favorite movies of all time, and we've been talking about rewatching this, so I'm glad we finally got around to doing it. I think Mel has this a 100 out of 100. I'm pretty sure, so That's not surprising, obviously. But anyways, I ranked it a 71 out of 100. I thought it was a lot of fun. So let's move on to Lee Cronin's The Mummy, which I ranked a 73 out of 100. It's my first 2026 watch in quite some time, to be honest. It's been a little while. Like I said, ranked it a 73 out of 100. I think this is a very solid movie. I really enjoyed it when I first watched the trailer, and I watched the trailer with Mel, even though Mel doesn't mind watching horror trailers, but she won't watch any horror movies. She does okay with horror trailers. She stopped watching this one immediately, and I thought the trailer made this movie look a hell of a lot scarier than what it actually was. This is much more of a mystery um, thriller, I guess, than a horror movie. There's not really any jump scares except for one that kind of got me. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a good movie. I think it's a lot of fun. Again, I enjoyed unraveling the mystery of the mummy in this, and I think that itself is a lot of fun. And the third act, the final like 40 minutes of this movie is fucking insane. I couldn't have prepared me. So much is going on, so much is happening, and it's fantastic. And yeah, it's wild. Loved it. Ranked it a 73 out of 100. Let's move on to Star Wars The Clone Wars, which is a very important movie. It introduces Ahsoka. I believe it introduces Rex as well. And dude, the B1 droids. I love the B1 droids. They're my favorite thing about season one of Clone Wars, to be honest. Season one was hard to get through just because I didn't think it was that good. There were some moments, don't get me wrong, but season one is not the best season, that's for sure. Nonetheless, this movie I think is honestly kind of underrated. Yes, it is a longer episode of the Clone Wars, but it is very important. There's a lot of character introductions, and we get Ventress in this as well, who's a very important character in Clone Wars. And yeah, I think this is a very underrated and underappreciated Star Wars movie. Ranked it a 75 out of 100. Now let's move on to the top three with Attack of the Clones, which is the first time I've ever ranked this movie a 4 star, which is surprising because I feel like my thoughts for this movie changes quite often now. I've I've I used to think it's an okay movie. At this point, I kind of love it. Last year when I showed it to Mel, I enjoyed it, but not that much. It was still one of my least favorites of the franchise. And although it still might be, I found a very new appreciation for this movie, and I ranked it an 80 out of 100. I think the relationship growing from Anakin and Padme is actually quite good, unlike the way that most people think about it. I think those moments together on Naboo, like you do that with someone, I guarantee you're probably going to fall in love with them. It's gorgeous, and I love it. And I love the relationship. But of course, Clone Wars does a lot of the heavy lifting for Anakin's relationships. So it gets so much more important in Revenge of the Sith because of the show, The Clone Wars. And as I'm watching through all of Star Wars in timeline, it's great to see that. We're getting important arcs with Anakin and Padme, more screen time with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and seeing how hard it is for Anakin to let go, which I'm noticing a lot more this time around, and I'm enjoying that. 80 out of 100 for Attack of the Clones. Let's move on to Is This Thing On, which I ranked an 85 out of 100. This movie was awesome, man. It's funny, not just from the comedic, comedy show, stand up show performances. This is a really fun movie, and this is a movie that is really about love, and I love movies about love. I think they're great, and this is something that I hope Mel and I never have to face. We're engaged, and one day we're going to get married, and I hope that we don't get unhappy in our relationship, and even if we are unhappy, we still want to be unhappy with each other. That's what I want. So not at each other, but with each other. There's a big difference there, and if you've watched this movie, you'll understand, I believe. Nonetheless, I think this is a great movie. It's my second favorite of the week. I ranked it an 85 out of 100. And let's move on to The Nice Guys, which is my favorite watch of the week. This is the hardest I've laughed at a movie in a minute. I thought this movie was fucking hilarious. I haven't seen this movie in a couple of years, or in a few years now. I saw it, I believe, right before Mel and I started dating. And I got to show it to Mel this time. And she enjoyed it, but not nearly as much as I did. I think it's hilarious. It's so fucking funny. It's so much fun. I love everything going on in it. It's a great cast. And yeah, I don't know. Everything about it is so much fun. It's easily my favorite Shane Black movie from the couple that I've seen, and yeah, it's also my favorite watch of the month so far as well. At a 94 out of 100. I originally had it at a 92. So yeah. Anyways, this was a quick one. I am kind of rushing. It's intermission of game 4 for the Oilers. If you can see my alternate jersey. Um, and second period's about to start, so I gotta go. Thank you guys all so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.